Hello, this is Caleb Pritchard, and I'm going to talk about plagiarism. So plagiarism means using other people's words or ideas as your own. So the noun is plagiarism, and the verb is to plagiarize. Even copying a few words could be considered plagiarism. But for sure, copying sentences or multiple sentences into your essay is plagiarism. And this could lead to a failing grade. Especially in English-speaking countries, professors are very strict about plagiarism. You could even be kicked out of the university. At the very least, you will get an F on your essay. So we need to consider this very seriously. Plagiarism is, again, considered stealing and cheating. So we need to learn how to avoid plagiarism. Okay, so I'll talk about some ways. The first way is we must cite the source. That means we need to say where the information came from, like according to the source. Another way is, or in addition, we also need to use quotation marks or write in our own words. Okay, so first, let's talk about citing the source. So there are various phrases we can use for citing the source. Here's a list of some of them that you can use. Make sure you understand what they mean. And one important thing is try to use different phrases. For example, don't just repeat the same phrase again and again. For example, don't say, according to blah, 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 blah. According to blah, 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 blah. According to blah, 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 blah. Try to use many of the different phrases and your writing will sound much nicer. Okay, so say where you researched the information. Second, it's important to try to paraphrase. Paraphrase means using your own words. So always change researched information to your own words if you do not use quotation marks. So one way is to use synonyms. Okay, synonyms are different words or phrases with the same meaning. In Japanese, you say dogigo. Okay, so I remember the word synonym because it sounds like cinnamon. So I made a little trick to remember the word synonym. There is no synonym for cinnamon. That's a tongue twister. It's very difficult to say. So if I say it 5 times, there's no synonym for cinnamon. There's no synonym for cinnamon. Oh, that's enough. Okay, if you say that many times, you can remember the word synonym. Okay, anyway, using the word synonym is very important. Using synonyms in your writing is very important. So I'll give some examples. So let's say we did some research about Christmas in different cultures, and I find this sentence. It says, majority of people in the US celebrate the holidays with their close relatives rather than their lover. Okay, I can use my own words. I can paraphrase using synonyms. Most Americans spend Christmas with their families, not their boy or girlfriend. So you can check the color-coded words. Majority, I changed to most. People in the US, I changed to Americans. Celebrate the holidays, I changed to spend Christmas. Okay, like this, I use synonyms and other words. So this has the same meaning, but I'm using my own words. This is not plagiarism. In other ways, you can change the grammar. Changing grammar is not enough, but it's also makes it better, and it makes it easier to avoid plagiarism. Okay, for example, you can change active and passive tense. So someone stole the trophy was stolen. You can change adjective to adjective clauses. Elderly man, the man who was elderly. You can move prepositional phrases around. In Boston, 3 people were killed. 3 people were killed in Boston. However, this is still plagiarism since 3 words in a row were the same. So maybe I changed to 3 were murdered in Boston. Okay, we can also move clauses. Unemployment got worse because of many job cuts. Because of many job cuts, unemployment got worse. So again, this is still considered plagiarism because there are three words in a row that were the same. So I should try to use synonyms more. For example, I could change to, due to numerous job losses, the unemployment rate worsened. Okay, another example of changing the grammar is you can change the order for lists. So for example, Smith researches social and psychological issues. Smith researches psychological and social issues. Okay, so changing the order. Okay, you can combine or split sentences. The ambulance came, however, the man died. The ambulance came, comma, but the man died. So change two sentences to one. So again, in this example, this still could be considered plagiarism because many words are the same. So I can change to different words. The ambulance arrived, but the injured man passed away. Okay, so if you can't use your own words or you want to copy some words because the words are stated perfectly, you can use quotation marks. Okay, so again, it's better to use your own words, but sometimes the words are perfect and you want to show the person's true voice, or maybe it's very difficult to find other words. If you copy a few words, even if it's one keyword, if it's a special word, you should use quotation marks. If it's a very normal word like dog, you don't need to use quotation marks. But if it's a special word, or if it's a group of words and you want to copy them, you must use quotation marks. Even when we're speaking in English, we use quotation marks with this gesture. Okay, so here's an example of quoting part of the sentence. So let's say the original, it's written by Smith in an article about the holidays in the US. Okay, here's the same sentence I used before. Okay, so you can examine this example. Okay, so I won't read it aloud because it will take a long time. It'll be a little bit boring for you, but this is actually very important for academic writing. So I will just explain a few points. Here, I changed the word Americans. Okay, that's because the original said people. And maybe in my essay, it's unclear who I'm talking about. So maybe I change Americans to make it more specific. Now the writing is more clear. If I change a word, I must use the bracket. I can't change people's words inside the quote unless I use the bracket. Okay, here I cut some words, because they were maybe I felt it was too long or not necessary. If I cut out words in the quote, I use 3 dots. Okay, here's another example where I changed to my own words mostly, using some synonyms like most, feel, choosing. But one part I felt was very worded nicely, or I couldn't change, so I used a quotation mark. Even though it's just 3 words, just part of the sentence, I use the quotation mark. Okay, so now we're going to practice rewriting some of the main points. But remember, here are several keys that I talked about. So please try to use these methods and do your best. Okay, if you have any questions, please let me know. If you're still unsure, if you're not sure if you're avoiding plagiarism, there are some online resources that you can use to check to see if you are plagiarizing. Okay, or you can also ask your teacher. Don't think that your teacher will not find your plagiarism. So some students think, oh, the teacher will not find out if I copy some words or sentences. In my case, I can always find out. Some teachers use some software to find out if the students are plagiarizing. I read, and if I read something that sounds very, very perfect, and maybe I know that your English is not perfect, I will search on Google and I can find it. So every year I find some students that are plagiarizing, even though I warn the class. I warn the class again and again. Still, I find students who are plagiarizing, and I feel very sad and disappointed. I don't want to find that, but we have to avoid plagiarism, and we have to use our own words. Again, using our own words shows that we understand, and it gives respect to the people who did the research and the original writing. Okay, also, it's a good way to practice your English and your English communication skills, especially your vocabulary, thinking of synonyms, and changing the grammar. Okay, so that's all for now. Good luck with everything.